Oftentimes, beginning printers struggle to maintain the quality of the print throughout an edition. Consistency in editioning involves precision throughout the entire process of preparation, proofing, and editioning. In this video, we will discuss some tips and techniques that are useful in maintaining consistency. At Tamarind, the proofing and editioning of an image rarely occurs at the same time. Weeks, months, or years may pass between the approval being signed and the edition being printed. Proofing not only helps an artist to realize their imagery, but also allows the printer to work out many of the problems that must otherwise be dealt with when starting an edition. Careful notes are taken during proofing to remind the printer of the conditions under which the approval was printed. The proofing sheet describes how the paper was torn and prepared, the inks that were used, the order of the printing elements, the roller used, modifiers in the inks, the heaviness or leanness of the ink slab, and the pattern used in printing the approval. The printer uses these notes as a guide for setting up to print the edition. Some variables may change due to the differences between proofing and editioning, but the lessons learned in proofing are the first step to a successful edition. Preparing paper for an edition is discussed in further detail in the video, Paper Preparation and Registration. But suffice it to say that for a consistent edition, each sheet of paper should be torn to the same size and the registration accurately marked. Calendaring your paper for a multi-run edition is also essential. A press station that is set up well will allow the printer to remain clean and organized throughout an edition, while also conserving movement. At Tamarind, we try to utilize an L or U-shaped pattern around the press. This ensures a minimum amount of walking to move between the ink slab and the printing element. Rolling is where the printer will spend the majority of their time in an edition, so it is important to minimize the energy involved in getting from the slab to the press. Place ink slabs as close to the printer side of the press as possible. Avoid leaving larger than necessary walkways between the press and the table. Paper should also be within reach, but kept a safe distance from the water bowls or ink slab. Other frequently used materials should be kept nearby, such as gloves, paper brushes, pencils, scrapers, picks, dusting brushes, etc. Your setup may vary slightly depending on your space and if it is the first run or a later run on an image. For the first run, place a generous stack of newsprint closest to you. Next, place the stack of printing paper with a sheet of newsprint under it to protect it from dirty surfaces. Place 2 more clean sheets of newsprint on the table, one for the BAT or approval, and one for the stack of prints you will be pulling off the press. For subsequent runs, the stack of newsprint is omitted, leaving your stack of prints to be printed, the stack of prints that you are pulling off the press, and the BAT or approval. If you do not have enough room, leave the prints you are pulling and the BAT or approval on the table where you can easily compare them, and place your other papers on a clean shelf or area where they are close and easily accessible. Before editioning, mix enough ink for the entire edition, with just a little bit extra, just in case, matching it to a wet, unmodified sample of the original ink used in proofing. A split drawdown will help to see the differences in the ink you are mixing and the original. As the ink settles into the paper, it can show minor differences in a split drawdown. Some drawdowns may need to sit overnight to ensure color accuracy. Lay out your ink slab to match the width and circumference of your roller. Marks on the glass may help you to maintain this size while editioning. Rolling beyond these boundaries should be avoided. A uniform ink slab is critical. Uneven slabs cause uneven inking. Evening a slab from top to bottom is achieved by rolling the roller enough times for the ink to evenly distribute itself. Evening the slab from side to side is also required. For a single color, flip your roller end to end and continue rolling. This will simply create a mirror image of your slab, however, and you may need to roll sideways on the slab while rotating your roller to achieve better evenness. Pay attention to where the ink lies on your printing element and where it is being stripped off in greater quantity from the roller. If the left side of the image is heavier, the corresponding area on your roller and slab will lose ink more quickly. Without maintaining your slab, these areas will quickly look too lean, while other areas remain full. When blending colors, you will not be able to flip your roller or roll sideways to even out your slab. In these cases, you must lay out your ink evenly and scrape back areas that have too much. One of the early challenges in editioning is establishing a rolling and ink adding pattern that matches the needs of your printing element and imagery. In general, small rollers may be easier to use due to their weight and size, but may require a fanning pattern to evenly distribute the ink across the image area. This pattern varies according to the type and distribution of the image on the surface of the printing element. The circumference and face length of the roller indicate the size of your clean inking area. As you fan, the first area touched by the roller takes the most ink, gradually lessening as you move across the element. This is resolved by moving the area you start rolling on the element after each charge at the slab. This may be enough to balance the inking of an image, but large images may require you to work from the corners, start in the center, or add some spot rolling to balance the inking. In proofing, these patterns should be recorded so they may be used as a reference for how to print the edition. Each sheet will need to be inked with the same pattern before printing. Large color rollers that can cover the entire image in one pass without exceeding the circumference of the roller eliminate the need for a roller pattern, but may add physical effort due to the weight or size of the roller. The weight of a large roller may also push the ink into the surface more, requiring a stiffer ink than a smaller roller to achieve the same results. With larger rollers, the printer should also watch out for ghosting and tracking, when an area of the roller that has been stripped of ink passes over another part of the image, revealing the previous image through the difference in the ink layers on the roller. This is especially apparent in large areas of flat color when the roller tracks or moves slightly from side to side when rolling on the element. Each time you roll, you are taking ink from your slab and transferring it to the element. That ink is in turn transferred to the paper with each print. An ink adding pattern must be developed to adjust for this loss of ink, and in combination with the rolling pattern will be unique to the image on the printing element. Such a pattern is usually a mix between increasing the number of times the printer charges their roller and rolls on the plate, which is called a pass, adjusting the speed of the rolling, or by adding ink to the slab. When adding ink, carefully measure the size of the bead of ink on the end of the ink knife to ensure that you are adding a consistent amount each time. This quantity may need to be adjusted throughout the edition as you get a better idea of how much ink the element needs to print correctly. As you begin to edition, you will be looking at the prints for proper inking and comparing them to the signed approval to print. Once you have a print that looks good, or a BAT, you will compare every sheet that you print against it to ensure consistent inking. Small variations in printing are inevitable, but the printer should pay attention to small variations when comparing the print to the BAT and adjust the amount of ink needed accordingly throughout the edition. If the printer finds that their slab is slightly heavier or leaner, but not enough to justify adding or removing ink, small adjustments to the ink transfer to the element can be accomplished through the speed of the roller. In general, faster rolls pick up ink, slower rolls lay more ink down. Periodically scraping back and replacing ink on the ink slab can help control ink emulsification and color contamination. When scraping back, ensure that you add ink equal to the amount that you removed. According to the needs of the print, you might scrape back every 5 or 10 prints, but like your ink pattern, this will vary from image to image. Gloves, back support belts, roller cuffs, platforms, and other aids can be necessary tools to help you deal with the particular challenges that you may personally face as a printer. While some tools can be ultimately detrimental to editioning, they may help you build necessary muscles, calluses, or tolerances until a time that they will not be needed. Some tools, such as platforms or braces, may always be necessary. Good communication with your sponger is also important. The exchange between printer and sponger should be seamless at the press. The sponger should anticipate when a printer is coming to the press and prepare the element. A printer should help their sponger understand the needs of the printing element and any problems that should be resolved. The sponger should avoid letting the plate dry out, leaving water streaks, or moving the ink as they sponge over the surface. They should also alert the printer to any problems they may see, such as inclusions in the ink, color bleeding into the sponges, etc., and do their best to help remedy these issues. Editioning requires energy and attention. Always print when you are awake and aware. Taking breaks while printing an edition not only gives you a chance to grab some refreshment and relax, but loose gumming the element while you step away gives it a chance to recover from the stresses of printing. To loose gum, roll the image up just short of being full. Puddle a small amount of gum arabic on the element, then spread it evenly using a sponge. Be sure to sponge in different directions to smooth out strokes, and then fan it dry. A good loose gum should look almost like you have buffed the gum in. When you are ready to return to work, wash off all the excess gum, add the last roll, and then print. The first print after a loose gum will have a heavier ink film, so be sure to adjust your rolling or to dump the ink on a spare sheet of paper before returning to your normal inking pattern for the next print. Use these breaks as a time to refresh your water as well. Your water should be cold and may need to be refreshed often, especially in a hot environment. Avoid letting your printing elements sit open and dry for any significant amount of time, as this can be harmful to the gum adsorb and could cause oxidation on aluminum or zinc. When printing an edition, it is necessary to allow time between runs for the ink to absorb into the paper and to begin drying. Usually waiting overnight between runs will suffice, but some colors or heavy ink films may require more time before the next run is printed. The rhythm of the printer helps to maintain the quality of the edition. Finding a rhythm that is both comfortable and efficient allows the printer to focus on slight variations that may be occurring from print to print. Allow sufficient time for printing the edition, and if problems arise, take the necessary time to solve them. While printing slowly can be problematic, trying to rush through an edition usually leads to ignoring problems that should be resolved and further inconsistencies in the print. The best printers are proactive problem solvers, those that can foresee problems, usually due to previous experience, and actively work to prevent those from ever happening.